Not everyone wants to be a professional speaker, but everyone needs to speak professionally. That's the premise of this evening's guest lecture from yours truly. Do you agree with that premise? And if so, what does it mean to be professional? I've been a professional speaker for over 25 years, which means I get paid to speak, which is surprising because most of us learned to speak at around about 2 years old. So getting paid to speak is an interesting concept. But professionalism is not about necessarily just what you do visibly in public on stage. It's everything you do behind that prepares you to be a professional. Preparation is everything. Prior planning prevents poor performance. And so my intention in these 45-50 minutes is to share with you some of the things that a professional speaker like myself would go through in preparing to present. Now, why is that important? Well, I just picked up from Christina's introduction that you had somebody talk to you about storytelling. I, like you, probably went through an MBA many years ago, and I did that because I wanted to take my technical ability up to an execution ability and maybe improve my collaboration and my influence. And typically education and advanced education in which you're involved emphasizes you developing those skills over and above your technical abilities. I don't know what domains you come from, engineering, medicine, pharmacy, whatever it is that you come from, this applies. As you move up the corporate ladder, as you increase your entrepreneurship, your ability to tell stories, to present in a way that engages and captures the audience is the X factor that you need to advance your career. And I have seen people who present extremely well, but are not necessarily as competent, advance over and above those that are more technically competent, but don't present well. And so this is a topic that is worth paying attention to. However, let's face it, fear of public speaking is the number one fear and anxiety. Fear of death is number 7, which means at a funeral, typically most people would rather be in the ground than giving the eulogy. And so I need to dissuade you of any anxieties that you have around speaking. The point being is that you've been able to do it since you were 2. The problem may have been that you went to a school and you got told to sit down and to shut up. And because there's a part of your brain that equates making a mistake in public as some form of shame and embarrassment that would move you down the pecking order of hierarchy as a primate. You have to divorce yourself from both the praise and the criticism and focus on your message. How to do that is not new news. Many of you will be familiar with Aristotle. He wrote 4 books on rhetoric 2,500 years ago in ancient Greece. And I'm going to distill what Aristotle taught us and bring it up to a modern context and expand upon it for you today. Now, the quality of my expansion to you today will also depend on the quality of your questions. I am going to stop for questions at the end, but I would love you to put your questions in the chat as we go. If something has come up for you that is resonating, you want me to expand on, here's your opportunity. Speak up and I will respond. First thing is, let's just have a question. Does anybody here in the chat box fear public speaking? Does anybody fear? Yes, I do. All right. Okay. So nobody's going to actually write that in the box because that would shame you and put you publicly. So let's do it a different way. Let's rate your confidence in public speaking from 1 being anxious to 10 being I'd rather have the mic and get you off stage right now. That would be a 10. So give me a number in the chat box from 1, absolute fear and anxiety, to 10, I think I can do it better than you. All right, well, thank you. Somebody is very bravely, and I'm not going to say names in case this is recorded. I see a 10, I see an 8, And I see a 3, and there's a qualification in the 3 depending on the topic and the audience, a 6. Now I want to talk to you about preparation for the audience as we go along, because the way that the audience responds to you depends on the way that you respond to yourself. So the premise that if I speak to an audience and they're warm and they're friendly and they're kind, I'm going to be great. Well, they're going to be warm, friendly and kind because you created that. It's not the other way around. And so you have to be intentional, you have to be proactive if you want to have a great audience. And of course, we want to talk about something that we know about. So I talk about self-leadership. Self-leadership I defined in a 2012 book on the topic as the practice of intentionally influencing your thinking, feeling and actions toward your objectives. Psychologists, philosophers today have decided we have little or no free will. None of us choose the time, place of our birth. We can't choose our DNA. We have no choice over our early childhood upbringing and education. And so we are framed. And so most of us are just operating out of a whole bunch of pre-programmed behaviors that were not of our making. When we engage in self-leadership, we step back from those frames and make a conscious choice. We claim our agency. And this is the paradox. We may not have free will, but if we act as if we have free will, that if we act as if we have agency, we change the outcomes. And you have to be a cleverer man than me to work out that paradox. But the way I describe it in a keynote speech is that you've got a choice. Do you want to be the driver or the passenger of your life and career? Now, sometimes it's nice to be the passenger. When I fly internationally to speak at a big conference, I get the VIP treatment. I land, there's a person with a plaque, and I'm taken out to a car and I'm driven to the hotel. And that's really cool. I mean, it just, I get my VIP moment. But I love driving. I love being in control. I love the responsibility of being in control of the vehicle. And that's the way we have to operate with speaking. We have to see it as an opportunity. Every time we get an opportunity to speak up in a boardroom, in a meeting, increases our visibility, and visibility relates to influence capital, and you're going to need to influence capital to advance your career. So change your mind about public speaking. Be the driver rather than passenger. Say, this is a skill I wish to develop, because it is a skill. Now, some people say, well, I'm an introvert versus an extrovert. Yeah, okay, fine. I know some great introvert speakers. The difference is that they just have to schedule some downtime after speaking because it's exhausting. Sorry, it's tiring. It's tiring for me. When I've been on the road for a few days doing speeches, I'm exhausted. It does take energy, but the benefits are huge.